Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are going to be looking at some really interesting stuff in the world of data analytics. We're going to be specifically talking about Vertica and seeing how it stacks up against some competitors, Cloudera and Single Store.
It's a pleasure to be here. And yeah, this is a comparison that comes up a lot, so it's great that we can dive into it.
Yeah, comparing these across tons of factors. Scalability, performance, costs, all the really important things when you're picking out your data analytics powerhouse. And one of the things I saw that was kind of a bold claim is that Vertica really outperforms the competition in several of these areas.
Yeah. On how well Vertica handles these huge data sets that are so common now. We're talking about petabytes of data, which is just a crazy amount. And Vertica can apparently scale almost linearly.
Okay, wait, hold on. Scale linearly. That sounds like something from a physics textbook. What does that actually mean for somebody who's just trying to make sense of their data?
Sure. Basically, it means that as you add more computing power, Vertica's ability to handle more data and to run more complex queries grows at almost the same rate. So it's efficient, which is a huge deal when you're dealing with massive data sets. In fact, one of our sources mentions that one of the biggest ad tech companies in the world uses Vertica to manage multiple petabytes of data, which is a pretty serious testament to its scalability.
That is impressive.
Yeah.
But what about speed? Can Vertica actually process all that data quickly?
That's where it gets really interesting. Vertica uses a combination of columnar storage, data compression to go through queries incredibly fast. One benchmark study actually found that Vertica significantly outperformed some of its cloud-based competitors on a series of complex analytical queries. And they were able to execute all 99 of the queries in the TPCDS test, which is a really demanding industry standard for data warehousing.
Wow. Okay, so it's not just about handling the big data. It's about getting answers from that data quickly.
Yeah.
But in the real world, it's not just like one person running queries. You have whole teams of analysts all trying to access the data at the same time. Can Vertica handle that kind of traffic?
Yeah, absolutely. The sources highlight Vertica's ability to manage lots of concurrent users and queries without sacrificing performance. And this basically lets multiple users access the same data at the same time without interfering with each other.
So no more data traffic jams. That's good to hear. But all this power must come at a price, right? What about the cost of running Vertica?
That's a question that comes up a lot, and it's where Vertica's efficiency really pays off. Because it can handle so much data with relatively modest hardware requirements, its total cost of ownership is often lower than other solutions. And one benchmark study found that Vertica was more than twice as cost-effective as a comparable cloud data warehouse.
That's a big difference. So we've got scalability, speed, and cost efficiency. But what about flexibility? Can Vertica be deployed in different environments, or is it locked into a specific setup?
One of the things that really stood out to me in the research was Vertica's flexibility. You can deploy it on your own servers, you can deploy it in the cloud, or even in a hybrid model. And you can use it with a variety of different technologies, including Hadoop, if you need to.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. You can kind of tailor it to your specific needs. That's a big plus in today's, ever-changing tech landscape. But speaking of changing landscapes, everyone is talking about real-time analytics these days. Can Vertica handle that kind of high-speed data stream?
Absolutely. Vertica is built to ingest and analyze data in real time. It integrates with Apache Kafka, which is a very popular platform for handling streaming data, which allows it to absorb data with very low latency.
So it can keep up with the flow of data without missing a beat. But we're not just collecting data anymore. We're using it to train machine learning models and make predictions.
Yeah.
How does Vertica stack up in the world of AI?
That's one of the most interesting aspects of Vertica, actually. It has built-in machine learning capabilities, which means that you can train and deploy models directly within the database. You don't need to move data to a separate platform or use external tools.
That sounds like a huge advantage. So
Yeah.
you're saying data scientists can use, familiar SQL queries to build their models within Vertica.
Exactly. It simplifies the entire machine learning workflow, and Vertica offers a wide range of algorithms covering everything from regression and classification to clustering and time series analysis.
Wow, that's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
But I want to make sure we touch on one more important area. How does Vertica handle traditional data warehousing tasks?
Vertica is a very mature data warehouse solution, and it's more than capable of handling complex SQL analytics. It's fully compliant with the ANSI SQL standards, so you can use all the familiar commands and functions. It really excels at handling heavy joins and nested queries and window functions and other advanced analytics that are common in data warehousing.
So it's a versatile platform that can handle both the fast-paced world of real-time analytics and the more traditional structured world of data warehousing. That's impressive.
It is, and Vertica's built-in geospatial analytics capabilities also allow it to handle location-based data efficiently, which is increasingly important for businesses these days.
Okay. Before we move on, I have to ask, how many built-in functions does Vertica actually have?
It's a lot. We're talking about a library of around 800 built-in functions, which is significantly more than many of its competitors. These functions cover everything from basic data manipulation to advanced analytics, machine learning, and even data lake integration.
That is a seriously impressive toolkit. It sounds like Vertica has a lot to offer businesses that are looking to get the most out of their data.
It certainly does. But before we get too carried away, it's important to remember that every business has unique needs. So before the break, we were looking at, Vertica's pretty impressive range of features and capabilities. Now we can start looking at some of the finer points.
Yeah, let's get into some of the specifics. What really jumped out at you from all this research?
Something that really stood out to me was how Vertica achieves such high performance without just relying on in-memory processing. A lot of modern databases, they really prioritize keeping all of the data in memory for speed. But that approach can be really expensive and it can be limiting, especially when you're dealing with really massive data sets.
Right, because memory is a finite resource. So how does Vertica handle things differently?
Well, Vertica takes a much more strategic approach. It uses a technique called late materialization, where it only brings the data that's absolutely essential for a particular query into memory, and then the rest of it stays on disk until it's needed. So this keeps the memory usage, under control and allows Vertica to handle much larger data sets than systems that rely entirely on in-memory processing.
That's pretty interesting. It's like, bringing in just the right tools for the job instead of, lugging around this whole toolbox everywhere you go.
Exactly. It's all about optimizing resource usage for, efficiency and scalability.
And I remember you mentioned that Vertica offers two main deployment modes, enterprise mode and Eon mode. Can you kind of walk us through the differences between those?
Sure. So enterprise mode is Vertica's classic deployment mode. In this mode, all of the data and processing power reside on a single cluster of servers. It's optimized for maximum performance, and it's a great fit for organizations with consistent workloads. It's also good for organizations that prefer, on-premises deployments.
So it's kind of like having a dedicated team of experts all working in the same room. Everything's tightly integrated and streamlined for efficiency.
That's a great way to put it. However, there are times when you need a more flexible approach, and that's where Eon mode comes in. With Eon mode, you have the compute and storage separated, and this gives you the freedom to scale each of these components independently, either in the cloud or in a hybrid environment. So this is ideal for organizations that have fluctuating workloads or maybe unpredictable data growth or a really strong need for cloud-based deployments.
So it's more like, assembling a specialized team on demand, kind of drawing from a pool of resources as needed. You get the expertise without the fixed overhead.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. Eon mode gives you the ability to scale your compute resources up or down as needed, and you only pay for what you use. It also simplifies a lot of the data management tasks and makes it easier to handle things like backups and disaster recovery.
It sounds like Eon mode gives you a lot of flexibility to adapt to, changing needs and different deployment scenarios. Now, I want to circle back to Vertica's machine learning capabilities for a second. We talked about the built-in algorithms, but I'm curious about the practical applications. How are businesses actually using Vertica's in-database machine learning to solve real-world problems?
That's a great question. One of the key takeaways from our research is that Vertica's in-database machine learning is being used across a really wide range of industries. This includes finance, healthcare, and manufacturing.
Can you give us some specific examples of how this is playing out?
Absolutely. In the financial sector, for example, some institutions are using Vertica to build machine learning models that can detect fraudulent transactions in real time. These models analyze patterns in historical data to identify suspicious activity and then prevent losses.
So it's like having, an incredibly vigilant security guard who can spot a fake ID before anyone even tries to use it.
Exactly. And then in healthcare, Vertica's machine learning is being used to predict patient readmissions and identify those who are at risk of developing certain conditions and even personalize treatment plans.
That's pretty amazing. It sounds like Vertica is helping to make healthcare more proactive and patient-centered. What about other industries?
Yeah, in manufacturing, for example, companies are using Vertica to optimize their production processes. They can predict equipment failures and minimize downtime. By analyzing sensor data and maintenance records, they can anticipate potential problems and keep their operations running smoothly. Date and time functions are another important category, especially when you're dealing with time series data or analyzing trends over time. These functions allow you to extract specific parts of a date or time, calculate time differences, format dates and times, and perform other time-based calculations.
So those would be essential for any kind of historical analysis or trend forecasting.
Right. Aggregation functions are another core set of functions. These are used to summarize data and calculate things like sums, averages, minimums, maximums, and counts.
So you'd use those to create reports and dashboards and other types of data summaries.
Exactly. And then you have window functions. These allow you to perform calculations on a specific window of data, like a rolling average or a cumulative sum.
I can see how those would be useful for things like time series analysis and trend identification and financial modeling.
Absolutely. And then there are analytical functions which provide more advanced capabilities like ranking data, calculating percentiles, and performing hypothesis testing.
Those sound like pretty essential tools for, data scientists and statisticians.
They are. And we can't forget about the geospatial functions that we talked about earlier. Those allow you to perform spatial operations on location-based data.
Right, and those are becoming more and more important as more data includes location information.
And of course, Vertica also provides a really comprehensive set of machine learning functions. These power its in-database machine learning capabilities.
So those are the functions that allow users to build and train their own machine learning models directly within Vertica.
Exactly. And lastly, Vertica includes a set of data lake integration functions. These allow Vertica to seamlessly connect with external data lakes. So think about like data lakes built on a Hadoop or cloud storage platforms.
So if you have data stored in a data lake, you can query that data directly from Vertica without having to, move it or copy it.
That's right. And all of these functions are designed to make data analytics, more efficient, more accessible, and more powerful.
It's really incredible to see how much functionality is packed into Vertica's function library.
It really is. And it really highlights Vertica's commitment to providing a comprehensive and user-friendly data analytics platform.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground today, from Vertica's unique approach to data processing and its flexible deployment options to the real-world applications of its machine learning capabilities and its huge function library. We've spent these last two segments really digging into Vertica, and it's clear that this platform is a major player in this world of data analytics.
Oh, yeah, definitely. We've uncovered some really impressive capabilities.
So before we wrap things up, what surprised you the most about Vertica during our deep dive?
I think what really stood out to me was how Vertica manages to be so good at both traditional data warehousing and, the world of real-time analytics, which is evolving so rapidly. It's not unusual for platforms to specialize in, one or the other, but Vertica seems to handle both with, really remarkable effectiveness. And that kind of versatility is, it's a huge advantage in today's data-driven world. Businesses need to be able to analyze both historical trends and real-time events to really make the best decisions.
So Vertica isn't just a one-trick pony. It's a multi-talented powerhouse for data analysis. What's the one key takeaway you would want our listeners to remember about Vertica?
I think it comes down to this. Vertica is a powerful and versatile platform that really excels in performance and scalability and cost efficiency. It's designed to handle the most demanding data workloads from, traditional data warehousing to real-time analytics and machine learning.
That's a great summary. We've covered a lot of ground today exploring Vertica's many strengths. But as always, the best platform for any organization is the one that best meets their own unique needs and requirements. So, do your research, explore the options, and find the data analytics solution that helps you unlock the true power of your data. A huge thank you to our expert for joining us on the deep dive today. And to our listeners, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back soon with another fascinating topic to explore. Until then, happy analyzing.